In this video, I'm going to talk to you about creating an APA-style reference for a web page. Now, a lot of you are probably going to be using web pages. They are where we find a lot of information. So once you decide that it's a reliable website and worth your time and worth your energy to incorporate into your essays, then we need to know how to cite them as well so that other people can find that information and critique it as well, and find where the information came from and maybe dive deeper into the information. All right, so let's get started looking at how to create a reference for a web page. Now, when we need to create our reference, the most important thing to know is what kind of information you need. So in general, a lot of our references are going to use the same exact type of information. So if you didn't watch my video about creating a general APA style reference, feel free to go ahead and do that because that will help so much in understanding how references work in general. Now, for a website specifically, you're going to need 5 bits of information: the author's name, the date of publication, the title of the page, the title of the site, and the URL, so that your reader can quickly find the information. Right, so when we look at how this is going to look in your actual reference page, it looks a lot like our general reference. So we have the last name, comma, first initial, middle initial if provided. And then one difference between a general reference and a web page reference is that a lot of times you are going to also include the month and date to the time of publication. So you're going to have year as the most important, comma, month, date. Now this is new to APA 7, so if you're unaware of that, that's okay. It is brand spanking new. Right, the next thing is the title of the page. So if you've stuck around with me, you know that we are working with sentence case. So as you might notice, the title has a capital T, but P does not. That is because it is written like a sentence, but it is italicized. From there, you will go on to the site name. So that's looking at something like the title of the page might be the BuzzFeed article you are reading, but the site name is BuzzFeed. It's the general website that is holding the web page. Now, the last thing you need is the URL that people can quickly click and get to. Now, one thing you might notice, as always, we have this beautiful hanging indent over here so that the last name is far over on the left-hand side and everything else is scooched in a little bit. That's so that when your reader is looking for your citation on your reference page, they can quickly find that last name instead of sorting through all sorts of different information. Okay, so let's look at an example. So on the left-hand side here, I have the CDC page for coping with stress during the 2020 coronavirus. And on the right-hand side, I have my working bibliography with some sources that I have already created citations for. So when I'm starting this, as always, what I'm going to do is look for the author. So I'm going to scroll through. A lot of times the author might be at the very beginning, but sometimes they include the author at the bottom of the page as well. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll. So what I'm noticing here is that there is no author. What do I do now? All right, so if you do not have an author, what you're going to do is create a corporate author, which means that whoever is publishing this information becomes the author. Instead of being one person, it is a corporation making a statement. In this case, it is the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. So I'm going to go ahead and type out Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. All right, so you will notice I wrote it in title case because that is what you are going to do for an author's name. You are going to put the first letter of all their name in capital letters. Okay, so now we're going to go through and look for the date, the next bit of information. So this says it was updated July 1st of 2020. So what I'm going to do is write 2020, comma, July 1. Right, so as you can tell looking at my other sources, having that date there is very different, but websites are more likely to change throughout the year. So it's important to know which update you're looking at. Right, the next thing I'm going to write is coping with stress, since that's the name of the actual site, and then the site page. So sometimes the publisher or website page is going to be the large name of the site. So it might be Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, but in this case, it's actually going to be coronavirus disease because this is a subsection of their site. So I'm going to go ahead and write coronavirus disease. Now, the last thing that I'm going to do is include the URL. So I'm just going to go ahead and highlight it. You can do copy, or I just did Control C and Control V, or you can do hit paste over here. Right now, I'm just going to hit enter to create that blue line underneath. And one thing you might notice is that we do not have all the italics that we should have. So looking back over here, the title of the page should be in italics. So we are going to go ahead and italicize coping with stress. The other thing is that we do not have that hanging indent. So one thing I talked about before is if you create a hanging indent on the page, what I can do is just go like that, and magic, it already creates the hanging indent for me. But how did I do that in the first place? So but let's pretend that we do not already have that established. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on here. You can double click it. You can highlight the whole thing, whatever you want to do. And then what we're going to do from there is you can right click with your mouse and open paragraph. And if you're on the indents and spacing page, then you're going to go down to special and click hanging, and then okay, and boom, magic, it creates your hanging indent for you. And like I said, if you go on from here and you start typing your next source, it will automatically have that hanging indent. So please do it this way. Do not do like enter tab, whatever, because it turns out looking really wonky. All right, so thank you for joining me today. Hopefully this was informative and you can use this information as soon as possible when you are creating your APA style reference page. Okay, thank you.